salesman. And we are live.
And here we are.
Here we are.
We're nearly here, holding the hand, babysitting MLD, but we're not there yet. He's not asking for too much help at the moment, but I'm sure he will be when he arrives in Turkey. I, of course, am trapped here. I tried to fly to Poland to meet Mr. Francis to do this boot camp that he's currently running, but the Turkish authorities have seized my passport, which is very Turkish of them. How dare your people do that?
They just wanted you to get.
You are literally in a sort of Midnight Express type scenario.
Yes, I'm a prisoner of love. A prisoner of fate. But anyway, yeah, you decided to show solidarity to me. You decided to fly over potentially, haven't you, to keep me in MLD company?
Yeah, I'm gonna get that sorted actually after this. I will be booking the flights and heading over to rescue you guys from yourselves. Really, I think, apart from anything else.
Yes. So we're going to keep the stream nice and short today. It's only going to be about 20 minutes. We just want to touch on some key elements of the product that we're going to be releasing, me and Troy. A one-time thing that we produced and we're going to release. We're really proud of it, called The Edge. And it's essentially about becoming, I guess the term would be, it's about being that charming kind of gentleman, but with an edge of Dark Triad, with an edge of the bad boy, with an edge of the anti-hero. Epitomized by people like Daniel Craig's James Bond, like Batman, not the fucking woofter Ben Affleck, but the original one with Christian Bale, or the one from the last few times. And today we're going to discuss, just touch on some of those elements that encompass more of the dark side and how to incorporate that in a healthy way. So we're going to go through just what we call it Dark Triad, but we're really going to talk about Dark Tetrad, the four elements, why they're effective or why they work, and how to actually encompass them in a healthy way. And we're not going to go into massive detail because that's the point of the course, isn't it? The edge that we've produced.
Yes.
But we're just going to touch them. And I guess, there's some good terminology bound around. There's kind of, who was the guy, Rob Henderson, was it, you deemed the term dark gentleman? Was that his way of saying basically the dark triad traits that women are attracted to with a kind of a charming guy who incorporates?
Yeah. There was a great podcast recently with Michaela Peterson that James actually got me to listen to. It was really interesting with Rob Henderson, the data scientist, and they were talking about this has been talked about before plenty of times online, but something we all need to learn about, which is the propensity of women to be attracted to guys with, dark triad traits or sort of caddish, let's say, traits. And what he was saying was, or what she was asking him was, well, can you incorporate some of those traits, but at the same time not become a complete psychopath? And he said, yes, absolutely, you can. And actually, that's really what you should be aiming towards doing. You should be looking to incorporate some of those slightly dark triad traits, but not losing your soul in the process. And that's really this product that we put together, The Edge. That's really what we're trying to teach in this product. In a sense, I think it might be fair to say this is a step up from an average sort of game product, isn't it? Because this is like saying, okay, so you understand game, you understand the sorts of things you should be saying, the sorts of things you should be doing, but I'm still not maybe getting very good results. Why is that? Well, the likelihood is, and in many cases, the reason is you're not bringing enough edge to it. There's not, you might be saying the right things, you might be having nice conversations with girls, but you're not bringing that extra magnetism, that personal attraction to it. And that is the key thing that's going to really take you to that next level.
Yes, absolutely agree. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was going to say it's a problem a lot of guys face when they first start approaching, right? You have the conversation, you have the conversation, you talk
louder.
You get the numbers, but then
Turkish dancing. We'll be seeing some of that.
This is how James got out from the hole that he was in.
Is that a Lyle Somerset impression? Lyle Somerset is it?
King Cole taught me these moves in Mother Russia.
but none other, Mr. Lyle Somerset, Shere Khan of the world class dancing on Instagram is in the chat. So
his videos are brilliant. I've never seen a man do so little and look so exhausted by what he's doing.
Excellent. Anyway, sorry, Ege, you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying it's a common problem a lot of guys face when they first start approaching, right? You start getting numbers, but then the girls don't come out because you don't have an edge. To the girl, you're like nice enough for the girl to not want to offend you and give you the
Yes.
number, but then
Mm.
not exciting and fun enough for the girl to be like, I'm going to take time out of my day to actually meet this guy.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. And actually, the edge is almost exemplified by the image that you have before you, because you've got James and Ege in their pristine white t-shirts looking like a Bros revival band. And then you've got me in this black, dressed in black, sat in semi-darkness, overlooking Gotham City out the back. So
yeah, it's true. It's
so
a great combination. And that's what we want to do. We want to be, just to be clear, because we're going to get the old brigade going, oh, you know, you can't touch this shit. It's manipulative. It's back to the old school days of tricking women. No, it's not. We're talking about being an 80% good guy, a charming, socially intelligent, emotionally intelligent guy who wants the best. But we're talking about in a calibrated way, how can you mix in some of these dark triad elements to get what you want in your dating life? That's what we're talking about. So we're going to break down these in just a little bit now and go through them. But just to be clear, with the edge, what you get is you get the walkthrough video series with myself and Troy. And you also get a WhatsApp group where me and Troy are going to be on there mentoring you through, you know, this process of actually incorporating the stuff into your dating life, through the approaching, through the texting, through the dating, and through the relationship management. Exactly how to do that in an emotionally healthy way, which isn't going to result in you losing your mind or doing bad stuff. It's about sprinkling it in, you know, and knowing when enough is enough. We're not turning you into bad guys. We're just turning you into the anti-hero that everyone resonates with. If you look at the leading men in Hollywood now, you know, your Batmans, your guy from the Peaky Blinders, Thomas Shelby, your Leonardo DiCaprio in Blood Diamond,
the Lucifer guy. Have you seen the series?
Lucifer guy. I don't know who he is, but I'll take your word for it.
But it sounds right. It sounds right.
Yeah, your Tom Hardy's in a lot of roles. He plays your Daniel Craig, James Bond. It's that anti-hero that's so appealing to both men and women. Men want to be that guy, and women want to be with that guy, right? So we're turning you into this guy.
I think what it comes down to, and I'm teaching a bootcamp right now in Warsaw. Obviously, I've taught many bootcamps with James over the last couple of years, and we've both taught many students individually, and also Ege as well. The fact of the matter is, a lot of guys are just too vanilla. That's kind of what it comes down to, isn't it? And they see these videos on YouTube, they read some ebooks and things, and they're like, right, okay, I'll do this day game thing. And they go over, or indeed night game, and they'll go over and they'll have conversations. Conversations are all very nice and very polite, but there's nothing really behind it. And what you need to bring behind it really is a degree of what we're calling edge, which is a sort of combination of a sort of bad boy mystique plus an element of sexual energy as well, I would say. And if you don't have those two things, yeah, you're going to get some nice interactions. Yes, you'll probably luck out from time to time, and you'll just meet girls who just happen to like you anyway. But you're not really going to move to that sort of elite level without having edge. A thug and a gentleman, as as Matt Daniels says, which is absolutely correct, I think.
Yes, absolutely, and it's that's the missing bit, right? It's taking the day game from super sociable to that sexual edge. Dancing on the edge of the knife, an element of danger, an element of you've got a propensity for violence. You're not going to use it, but she thinks, okay, this is a guy who, if the shit hits the fan, can defend me, because the primary trigger that everything stems from is, does the woman feel safe and secure around you on a primal level? And you've got to have edge to be able to communicate that. You've got to be able to stand up for yourself. You've got to have a bit of fire in the eyes. You've got to be able to dominate other men. You've got to be able to not necessarily dominate her, but give the impression you could, you know, stand up to her, test, pass them, lead the way. These are all areas that we talk about in the edge and we help you incorporate. So the way it's going to work is the official launch date of the edge is the 1st of September. We are doing a very special offer where we 60 or 65%, I think, discount it as a pre-sale price. So anytime between now and up to September the 1st, you can buy the edge at a discounted price of $379. That includes access to me and Troy for the next 2 years on the WhatsApp group, which is open to guys that have bought the product, where you can ask us questions and we help mentor you through the incorporation of all this stuff. And yeah, we're going to drop the link in the chat now. If you're watching this live, go on there. It's only open to the first 30 guys at this price, and then the price moves up, and then on September the 1st the price jumps up by $200. And remember, once we're going to run it September 1st to September 8th. At September 8th, it closes forever. This is a one-time release. I feel like I'm on one of those like TV channels at like 3 a.m, like trying to con people into buying stuff. We kind of are. I mean, we are entrepreneurs of the highest order. Why I haven't been featured on Mike Winnett's Entrepreneur Bingo is beyond me. But anyway, that remains by the by.
But I mean, the truth of the matter is, this is. I mean, we are going to say this. It's a really good product though, because it's a deep dive into this side of things, and we can touch it, I suppose, now on, the dark triad. The dark triad gets talked about a lot. Before we do though, Ege, I just wanted to ask you, because I know that you help guys who maybe they come from an engineering background, they're perhaps a little bit more analytical and maybe a little bit more introverted and so on. Do you resonate with what we're saying here? Do you find that these guys, they maybe they're sort of saying the right things, they're perhaps even doing the right things, but they don't have this underlying edge to them that makes all the difference?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even when I got into this journey, personally, that's something I went through as well. James, a few years ago now, James and Les came to Mexico, and I was wearing polo shirts with my glasses, running around the streets of Mexico, and he was like, dude, we have to change some things here. And there's both the external side and the internal side. I think with a lot of analytical and logical guys, right, there's a lot of fear of failure, and there's a need for certainty. And for someone to build an edge and add that to their life, what needs to happen is you have to be able to risk things. Taking risks is a big part of creating that edge. So I find that a lot of people, I think, get too comfortable in this weird state of getting consistent numbers, being more of a nice guy, but they're actually limiting themselves from going on more dates or generally resonating with the woman that they like and having those experiences, because they're afraid to take risks, to create that edge, to be a bit more polarizing, which is what you guys are helping with, which is extremely important.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I would say apart from taking action in the first place, because you can't, ultimately, you've got to approach, you've got to be social, you've got to put yourself out there. That's a no-brainer, right? But almost aside from that, I would say this is really the next most important thing, because if you let's just say this hypothetical guy had edge and was approaching a lot, he would be having a fantastic dating life. He wouldn't even need to learn game, because in a way, game is edge. Really, game is sort of the outward appearance of having edge. Whereas if you could just be an edgy sort of guy anyway, then the job's done for you. So really, all you would need to do is to learn the stuff that we're teaching in this course, then approach a lot, and you're going to be doing very well.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So Troy, let's briefly summarize and go through the dark tetrad. So first of all, psychopathy. What is it? How does it help you in your dating life for a man to incorporate it, and how do they do it?
Well, look, the first thing to say is we're not going to get into deeply clinical definitions here, because there's always some pedant in the comments underneath who'll write, oh, blah, 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 that's not the exact definition of narcissism or whatever. So we're talking fairly colloquially here. I think most people understand that. But psychopathy obviously is a mental disorder, right? And you can't just sort of, even if you wanted to become psychopathic, you can't just become psychopathic. It's an actual diagnosable disorder. Okay. In the context in which we're using it, I think the most useful way to think about it is lack of empathy or reduced empathy. Okay, because most of us are kind of nice guys, right? Or we were kind of originally nice guys, and so on the surface we're very empathetic, and we think a lot about what other people think and feel. We think about the women that we're interacting with, but also the people around us as well. Oh, what's that person going to think if I go and make this approach now? What's that group of people over there going to think if they see me going and talking to that woman? We're too concerned with other people. We're not concerned enough with ourselves. If you dialed down that empathy just a touch, imagine how effective you would be in social situations.
Yes, and there's a great quote from an article where he talks about, if you can get to the point where rejection means nothing, you have basically, if you can harness rejection and not give a fuck about it, you have unlimited options. And it's true. So I think one of the big things that guys want to really work on, and what we can help them work on throughout being a lot of these things you can work on when you're consciously aware of it, and then start instilling it with help from a step-by-step process we provide in the Edge, but also accountability from us, is working on that element of total social freedom. So anyone you see, can you go up and start a conversation with them and not give a fuck about the outcome, right? Because what we find is when you actually kind of analyze, people always get too caught up in, okay, what's the next line? How do I flirt? How do I close? They can't even fucking go and open their mouth to 20 attractive women that they see throughout as they go throughout their everyday life. So the first thing to do mentally now is probably, guys watching this either live or on a repeat, out of 10 being you can take a dump in the street, pick it up and eat it in front of someone, then shake their hands, and a 1 being you're trapped indoors and you can't even go outside. What is your current social freedom level? And be honest with yourself. And most guys, probably when they're coming into this, it's around a 4 or a 5. You can strike up conversations sometimes with people, but not the whole time, and definitely not high pressure situations like a group of attractive women. You know, most guys have never been able to do that, and I think that's basically impossible, right? So first thing is consciously have a think about this and note out where you think your social freedom level is, and then think about consciously working on that stuff, because the first thing that we're going to get you to do is start putting you into, you know, encouraging to put yourself into uncomfortable situations, realize it doesn't kill you, and then you get desensitization through repetition, your social freedom level increases.
Yeah, and remember also... Oh, go ahead, Troy.
No, carry on.
I was going to say, remember that when you do self-diagnosis, when you do that, right? Because dating is so attached to our ego, you're probably going to overestimate most of the time.
Yes.
So if you give yourself like a 5 or a 6 and you think, oh, actually, it's not that bad, I'm at a 6, most likely you're at a 3 or a 4 if someone were to look at you from the outside. So I would say try to be as honest as you can and remove the ego from that process of diagnosing yourself, because that's when we can actually help you the most. You know, if you want certain type of help, but you're not willing to have that conversation with yourself, it's not going to be as effective.
Anything to add, Troy?
Troy turn into bias.
No, I think that's it really, except to say if we could all turn down the dial on our empathy just a bit, I think that we would be extremely effective in social situations. And in a way, that's what we're training ourselves to do with, you know, all the day game and stuff we've done, is putting ourselves in these uncomfortable situations time and time again, so that in the end we just care less about what other people think. And that means that we, being crude about it, we tend to get what we want more often.
Yes, absolutely agree. And not taking it too personally as well. Like, girls are going to drop out at any phase of the process. Maybe they're going to blow you out in the street. Maybe she's going to flake on the text. Maybe she's going to come back to your house and not sleep with you and you never speak to her again. Maybe she's going to leave you for another guy, leave you for the upgrade, leave you for the Mr. M's of this world. But you've got to...
Mr. Steal your girlfriend.
Mr. Steal your girlfriend. We cannot take this personally. So, as Troy says, I think a brilliant way of summing it up is dialing down the empathy dial tactically. We're not talking about becoming heartless bastards. People you care about, people in your life, you should be very, very tactically empathetic. And we've been pushing this idea through Royal Silk, who is the latest trainer on the team, with the Chris Voss stuff of tactical empathy, actually putting yourself in someone's shoes and really trying to analyze how they think and see the world through their eyes. It's an incredibly charismatic and bonding thing to do. But these are women that have earned that right. So we're talking about dialing it down in the opening exchanges and then increasing it back up tactical empathy-wise later. So that's the first thing for psychopathy. That's a healthy way to incorporate this stuff. The next trait is, of course, Mr. Troy Francis, in a nutshell, if he was a spice in a jar, he'd be pure hedonistic narcissism. What is narcissism, Mr. Troy, and how do we incorporate it?
Well, narcissism, as I saw on a sign yesterday, is the fast food of the soul. Actually, it isn't. I saw this bit of graffiti yesterday, and I photographed it and sent it around some people. Narcissism is the fast food of the soul. Actually, I don't entirely agree with that. I think narcissism, in a controlled way, is actually a very, very useful thing to have. I mean, a lot of these traits, they're counterintuitive because on the one hand, they sound bad. And if you say it in polite society, people will go, oh my God, that's terrible. But actually, in a sort of controlled way, they can be very, very effective. Certainly effective in you getting the things that you want in your life. And look, I mean, I don't think it's unfair to say that because we all want a certain outcomes. We all want a certain kind of dating life. We all want a, certain kind of social life or whatever, right? So why not go for that, for what you want? Anyway, narcissism, again, in the colloquial sense, we're not talking about some clinical definition here. Colloquially, what we're talking about basically is loving yourself. Do you think very highly of yourself? Now, I think it was Chateau Hartis that famously said, the most attractive trait in a guy for a woman is self-confidence. There's almost unmerited self-confidence, right? If you can walk into a room with self-confidence that's almost above anything that objectively you would necessarily merit, that's awesome. It may be completely unrealistic. It may be even delusional, but it's better to be delusional, because guess what? People tend to buy into what you present. So if you walk into the club like, I'm the boss, even if objectively people could look at you and go, well, hang on a sec, you're not this, you're not that, you're not the other. That's going to put you in a very good position. So narcissism, I think, in that sense, is what we're talking about here. And if you can, a lot of guys, again, they're too timid, they're too self-effacing, they're self-deprecating. Completely the wrong way to go about it. You want to be dialing up those qualities, if anything.
Yes, it plays into this idea of being the prize, doesn't it? And it's a cliche, but you've got the women. Women either see you as better than them, a viable sexual option, or not as good as them, not viable sexual option.
Yeah,
you have to be the prize.
Exactly. Now, so therefore, the best thing to do, every interaction you walk into with a woman that you're attracted to, you go in seeing yourself as the prize. Now, does that mean that every single time she is also going to see you as the prize? No, probably not. That's rejections happen. Of course, it's part and parcel of all of this stuff. But put it this way, if you go in thinking, oh, I'm so lowly, I'm so downtrodden, she's so far above me, I wonder if I can get her to talk to me for 2 seconds, she's definitely not going to like you then. Like you blow yourself out of the water. So you want to at least walk into every interaction with a sense of your own value. Okay? That's going to give you all things being equal, that's going to give you a better chance of a good reception from her.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I'd say with all these qualities, the key thing to realize is it's not like you switch from being a very worried person about others to being a complete narcissist. It's a scale that you move in between. So you increase that level of self-love. And a lot of guys who are watching this, who might think, oh, but isn't it bad to be narcissistic? Isn't it bad to lack empathy? They probably are on the part of the scale where they don't value themselves as much as other people, or they're overly empathetic. So it's actually good for you to balance that out a bit more by putting your more value out there, valuing yourself as a prize, and that's going to get you results, but also over the long term make this whole process a lot more straightforward. Because if you don't have that self-love, then you chase situations where girls are not respecting you. You have a date for 4 hours and the girl's dragging you around and you're just frustrated deep down. Whereas if you master these skills, life becomes a lot more smooth.
Exactly. And
How
also as well.
Sorry, Troy, go ahead.
Also as well, just on a human level, we should all value ourselves, right? I mean, like if you're not your own cheerleader, who else is going to be?
Very good point.
Yeah.
And guys will be wondering how to balance those kind of narcissistic elements we want to instill with quite irrational self-confidence, as Hartis calls it, with still being the humble, decent dude, because that's also a very attractive trait. So how would you say, is it a bit like a dial where you turn it up in certain situations and turn it down in others, or how would you corroborate those two things together? Because they're kind of the opposite, aren't they? People might assume they are.
I think it is, and I think you do need to do that. I think that there are certain situations, particularly let's be real about this, right? The dating game, it is a bit of a game. When you first meet the girl, when you've gone that first date, those first couple of dates, you are to some extent playing a role. I'm not talking about lying or pretending you've got a Lambo parked outside if you haven't, or anything like that. But you are playing a role to an extent, or at least I think you should be. You want to be sort of portraying a little bit of mystique. You want to be creating a sort of an interesting atmosphere with her, an interesting polarity with her. As you get to know her more, you can sort of start to relax that. But at the beginning, you are sort of playing a role. And she is as well. So I think in those situations, you dial up these things. But then when you're with your friends on a Saturday night, or you're down at the local coffee shop or whatever, right? You're not going to go around acting like that the whole time. I mean, actually, I was reading an interview with a rock star recently, and he was saying, like, the way I act on tour, the way I act on stage, I couldn't act like that in normal life because you'd just be ridiculous, So there's a time and a place for everything to step into that alter ego. And we do in the course talk a lot about the alter ego effect, becoming a souped up version of yourself for a period of time.
Yes, especially before you've got physical with the girl, because let's be honest, women are gatekeepers of sex, right? Men are gatekeepers of kind of relationship and commitment. So the ball is heavily in her core. Let's be frank about it. Before you slept with them, before you got physical, so you have to be, you have to present yourself as the prize. Really, you can still be humble, so you can deliver it in things. And this is what we go into detail in the edge. So we're not going to go too much into it. But for example, on a date would be, should you be whipping out photos with you standing in front of your Lambo, talking about how good you are? No, that's a very stupid way of kind of painting yourself as the prize. Humble bragging, and allowing the girl to kind of leverage information out of you is a better way of doing it. So that kind of quiet self-assurance, like she's like, what do you do? And you're like, well, I travel full time. And then maybe you got some cool travel photos you show her, but it's done from a position of, you're not trying to brag about things. You're not trying to kind of shove it down someone's throat, because that comes across as arrogant, and arrogance, we all know arrogance tends to be based on insecurity. Women are extremely perceptive, and they can see through that, can't they?
Yeah, no, totally. Rollo Tomassi, the world's most prolific approacher, has a Spanish phrase that you will probably know, Ege, but I can't remember. It says "sin hablando" or something like that. Say without speaking. Yeah, exactly. We talk about this. We talk about this in the course. You want to go in and you want to communicate value, but you're not actually saying, "Hey, babe, I've got look at my car keys," or "Look at the Lambo outside," because if you because the archetypally really high value dude, he's not gonna have to do that, is he? It's not even going to occur to him to do that, because it's just like, well,
it's like you. It's like you in Warsaw, right? You're staying at some pretty nice hotels. You're very well dressed. You're wearing some, you look sharp. You're taking them on dates to pretty high end places. You know the managers. You know the owners. So everything you're doing, every action you do is communicating you're a high value dude who values himself, right? So that's a healthy way of incorporating narcissism, rather than just being this kind of fake alpha dude who's kind of showing off his rented Lambo, being like, I'm the boss,
Exactly. Well, it's like also, like Ege said, and this applies with psychopathy as well. It applies with all of it, really. You've got sort of two levels. You've got the external stuff. So there are elements of like, how do you dress? How do you present yourself? Are you that sort of guy who looks like he takes care of himself, who looks like he thinks highly of himself? So there's all of that, which we will help you with. But equally, there's also the mindset stuff, which is as, if not more important.
Yes.
And then the next one, I guess we go on to the next one now, which is Machiavellianism, which
so
basically,
How would you summarize it, Mr. Troy?
So Machiavelli famously wrote the book The Prince, which was a guide for his young protege who was going to become the ruler of Italy, to basically say, okay, well, this is what you do, this is how you handle difficult political situations, this is how you maintain power when people are trying to unseat you or whatever. And really, I think, again, colloquially, Machiavellianism sort of means sneakiness, really, or being prepared to do whatever it takes to get what you want. Are you that kind of person who's prepared to do whatever it takes to get what you want? Now, there's various ways this applies in dating, I think. The first one is just understanding the game. If you present as somebody who understands the game, and I don't mean the game as in the nonsense that we talk about, the book by Neil Strauss. I mean the interplay between men and women. If you present as somebody who looks like they get that already puts you into a higher position in terms of her rating of you. Because most guys don't get it. Most guys don't have a clue about it and about how dynamics between men and women work. So if you show yourself as understanding that stuff, that puts you in a high bracket already. I think as well, actually, an ability to do whatever it takes, even in the workplace. Like I've talked many times about this dude that I used to be friends with at work, who was a legendary swordsman, and was also very Machiavellian in the workplace as well. And I think that actually probably made him more attractive to women, because they saw this is a guy who's going to do whatever he needs to do in order to get what he wants in life. In other words, he's effective, and he's going to be able to offer me protection and nurturing, which again, underlies all of this stuff.
Yes, I'd exactly what you said. I'd add to that, the way I view it is kind of like a social chess, right? You're understanding the strategy, the moves to win.
Yeah.
You're my favorite tweet on your thing, on your Twitter account of all time, which is very relevant in Turkey because there's a fuckload of felines walking around in the best frame. I think you put something like that.
Yeah.
And it's so true. They've got a very solid frame. They're very Machiavellian, aren't they?
Yes.
And women are like cats. I think women are naturally very Machiavellian. They play the game, they understand the rules of the game, they do what they want to win, they do what it takes to win. How would you incorporate, Troy? How would you incorporate this element without feeling like a weasel, right? Because I think for me, something I've struggled with this element, being Machiavellian, I kind of like to at least present myself as a guy, what you say, what you get. I don't like to kind of go behind people's backs. So how can you incorporate this in a way where you don't feel like you're shafting people over? Or is it a case of just incorporating it with women because you're playing women at their own game, and then with men being kind of that straight up, my word is my bond kind of guy?
Well, I agree. And I like to be straight up with, certainly with the guys that I deal with, right? You know, it's like you said, you know, my word is my bond. I'm going to be very straightforward. I'm not going to mess around. I'm not going to sort of, you know, transparency. I think though, all is fair in love and war, you know, and I think, again, dating is very different. And you know, we've got to be very careful about how we talk about this stuff, because I'm not talking about being an arsehole. I'm not talking about deliberately going to over or something like that, even in a dating context. But at the same time, and again, particularly in the early stages of dating, you've got to realize that women are playing a game too. You know, women have got a bunch of guys in their phone that they're texting, maybe dating, maybe sleeping with, whatever. You know, they're also weighing up their options. They're also sort of playing the field in the background. And you know, you make a personal choice whether you're going to do the same sort of thing or not. But you don't want to walk into a dating situation as a mark, you know, as some guy who's a naive idiot who doesn't understand the game. You want to at least show that you get what's going on. It doesn't mean maybe you rise above it, you know, whatever, but at least you understand it. I think that's the key thing. And I think there's a certain genre of guy that we teach that just very, very nice guys, decent guys, but they come across as being a little bit naive. And you need to, I don't think that's an attractive component to have. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say a good part of that is like, you know, when you're on a date and you want to get the girl back to your place, saying that, hey, let's just go back to my place is, you know, a way of doing it. But if you have reasons to go back to your place, it's kind of like sidestepping your way to lead things into a situation where you want things to lead to. And it demonstrates that understanding, because most guys would probably not do that. They'll be like, oh, what do I do now? I either drop her off to her car and try to go in for a sloppy kiss, or I just ask her to come to my place. And I think one of the interesting things, as we were talking about narcissism as well, is the more you cultivate that self-love, the less planned you actually need to be, at least in my opinion, because as you build that self-love, a lot of the things become a bit more natural, or that's what I've seen for myself.
Yeah. I mean, another thing about this is being your own mental point of origin, putting yourself first, right? Or putting yourself more first than maybe you already are. Because if you're somebody who's like, I'll just go with the flow, I'll see what happens, blah, 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 then it may be that other people are going to overtake you, or even in the worst case, take advantage of you. If you're somebody who's like, no, I'm laser focused, you know, I'm not necessarily going to be a dick, but I am laser focused on, you know, I want to have this sort of life, I want to have these kind of dating experiences, whatever, I'm going to go for that. Then maybe you're not going to bend the rules, but you're certainly going to be looking at every possible avenue to achieve what you want to achieve, right? And I think that is, I mean, I suppose, again, I mean, maybe an example is the Daniel Craig James Bond, where he's the hero, but he's also a bit of an anti-hero as well, you know, and he will bend the rules. He will do things that, you know, maybe he's not supposed to do in the goal of the greater good.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a bit like, I think it's kind of like in front of the woman, do you present as someone who's some kind of weird, do you present as someone who's effective or not? You know, do you present as somebody who, if the shit hits the fan, you're going to be able to get what you need and what you want? Or do you present as somebody who's just going to sit there and go, oh, I don't know what to do? You know, I think it comes down to that, really.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd agree. That stopped.
No, it's not going to stop.
So quickly, I'd say, just to summarise this, we've got the prayers coming in. So, Troy, you're going to have to take charge of the dark chat trial. But just as the point I wanted to make for the Machiavellianism one, I think the key thing to is treat men, you know, be very straight up with men. Your word is your bond, but then play the game mercilessly with women, because they respond to it, right? It's how they play the game. Anyway, the dark tetrad, the fourth one, Troy, what is it and how do guys incorporate it? Oh no, I've featured him. Ah!
The fourth one is sadism, and this is the most sensitive one of all to talk about. You know, I don't think that we would encourage anybody to be deliberately sadistic, but I do think that the reality is there are some guys who they have this quality of almost taking pleasure if somebody else doesn't succeed. Okay, and as abhorrent as that may sound, you know, actually, those kind of guys will often end up getting the things that they want. So again, this is not something that we recommend, but it is something to be aware of, and it's something to have a think about. You know, are you somebody who, you know, you are prepared to banter with your mates? You are prepared to have a laugh. You are prepared to put people down a little bit sometimes as a joke. You know, like are you able to bring that element in? Again, human nature is a very varied and strange beast, and the things that actually we are drawn to, the things that actually we resonate with, are sometimes not the things that we would like to resonate with, but that's just the way it is. Okay, so we've got to look at what works, we've got to look at what's effective in the real world, and we've got to try and turn up the dial on those elements in ourselves. I think that's probably the best way to incorporate it. At the moment, I think that James and Ege are, well, they look like they're praying themselves, actually. There's prayers going on out there. It looks like they're actually having a bit of a pray themselves. So I'm just going to freestyle it for a little bit, unless they can come back in. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions about this stuff, whack them into the chat, and we will deal with them. This course, The Edge, comes out on the 1st of September. It's going to be coming out on the 1st of September. It opens, the cart opens, and then there is, we're going to keep it open for 8 days. We're going to have an 8-day enrollment window, and then it's going to close on the 8th of September, and then that's going to be it. We're going to shut it then. So you won't be able to enroll in the course at all after that point. All right. You can now, at the moment, you can join the course for the pre-sale amount, which is $379. We've been putting the link into the chat. So get onto the course for $379. Then it's going to jump up by $200 to $579 when we open on the 1st of September. And then it'll jump up again before the end of that enrollment period. Okay, so if you want to get on board with this course, which I highly recommend that you do, because this is likely going to be the only time we actually run this, giving you all of this forbidden and highly secretive and sensitive knowledge, then now really is the time to get on board. So we're spamming out the link in the chat as we speak. But yeah, jump on board now, because it really is going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, what you get, there's 15 professionally recorded video segments of this course where we go through all of this stuff in huge detail. And that in itself is basically a huge brain dump, straight from the minds of myself and Tusk, delivered directly into your central cortex or cerebral cortex, which is going to take you, some time to listen to. But it really is transformative. It's a very, very deep dive into all of this material. And then on top of that, you have weekly tasks to do, weekly missions to do, which we will be holding you accountable for, because we're going to have a Telegram group, or WhatsApp group or Telegram group. I'm going to decide which, but we're going to have a group. You guys are all going to be in there. We're going to be feeding you with information. We're going to be giving you motivation. We're going to be holding you accountable for the tasks for each module. And on top of that, we will be doing a couple of Zoom calls as well with you guys. So these are going to be announced when you come into the course, but we'll do some Zoom calls with you guys as well, where we're going to really induct you into the dark arts of all of this stuff. So it's a very comprehensive course. You're going to have access to the group for 2 years. You're going to have access to us for the next couple of years. We're going to be mentoring you through all of this stuff. And I think it really, really is super important, because if you've been watching these channels for a while, if you understand the principles of dating, the principles of game, the principles of day game, whatever, that's great. But if you're not getting results, and if you're not getting consistent results, then you've got to look at why that is. Okay. And is it because you're not saying the right line? Probably not, right? It's probably, in 90% of cases, it's because the guy either isn't being sexual enough or he's being too nice. Okay. Those are the two key things. Come through time and time again. So if this applies to you, and you probably know in yourself, if these are the things that are holding you back, then this is really the course for you, because it's going to take you to the next level with this stuff. Okay. And I don't really think there's any other way of getting to that next level without learning these principles and without being mentored through it. You know, because you can read an article about the dark triad or whatever. I mean, yeah, great. But how do you actually incorporate that in real life? And what we've all done is gone from a position of being really stereotypical nice guys and then turning up the dial on some of these qualities in a calibrated way.
Yes.
To be able to be more effective in the dating arena. And just one final thing. I mean, the dating arena, let's face it, it's pretty tough out there, guys. You know, I mean, for the uninitiated, it's a bit like being thrown to the lions, isn't it? In the Colosseum, you know, you've got to know what you're doing out there, because these young these young women that we're dealing with, I mean, they are all masters of the game. You know, we're the ones who need the upskilling.
It's also the hardest it's ever been right now for dating. There's a number of podcasts coming out that we all agree with, illustrating how the average guy is fucked. Now, we talked about this in the last live stream we did, and we came to the conclusion that no, as long as you're leveraging yourself up, you're increasing your value, and you understand this stuff, it's not fucked. You can charge off, you can have a lot of fun. But you've got to realize that dating now is harder than it ever was. And the reason for that is we're competing on a global scale, right? Women who didn't have access to Instagram 15 years ago are now being hit up by elite Arab chads, being flown out to do various things to various camels. I mean, you've got, you know, an average girl now has more validation online, has more opportunity online than she ever had. And it's created a fucked up dating market. So you have to learn this stuff. There's no getting around it. You cannot just stay as you were doing 10 years ago, putting in the same amount of work and expecting the same results. It's not gonna happen. You've got to level up. You've got to get better. And this is a prime way to incorporate this stuff in and allowing you to accelerate that process.
Yeah. Well, as Jesus Christ was not a Chad says, yeah, you've got to damn near be a Giga Chad Tyrone billionaire now. I mean, that's the way it goes, guys.
Yeah.
or Mr. Ant.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, the crazy part is for guys who work with you guys or with myself, it's thousands of dollars for a few days. But as you guys know, I used to be an engineer, so I did the math. And for 2 years of support, this is 50 cents per day.
You're
paying $3.97.
We're getting paid less than an African rice farmer in the driest, most arid, most unemployed part of Africa. We're doing it for the love of the game. We're doing it because we like to help people get better. And we're doing it because we actually, you know, these elements have always fascinated myself and Troy. So, yeah, you're not going to get a better offer. The course now currently is $379. It will stay at that amount till September 1st. Then it will jump to $579, and then it will increase every day until September the 8th, when it will go off sale. You get access to all the video content me and Troy recorded on everything you need to know about incorporating this stuff in a healthy way. And you get access to me and Troy for the next 2 years on a WhatsApp thread where we'll mentor you through this stuff. You get that all for $379. You're not going to get a better offer than that. I tip my own hat to it. It's very good. And nothing else to say other than, when are we next reconvening to talk about more dark triad stuff?
I think we're convening. Maybe we're going to do something tomorrow, actually.
Tomorrow. What's the topic tomorrow?
We'll get back to you on that, I think.
I might have it written down, actually. It is... Oh, no. I've just put, is it for men? That's not a good topic. No, okay.
Is it for men? Yes.
We'll get back to you on that topic, I guess.
The dark, gentle nutsack. Yes, we will get back to you on the topic. Yes, we will be doing another stream. I think it's tomorrow, and we're going to be doing these a bit more regularly in the run up to the 1st of September, and then we're going to be streaming for a week during the actual launch period itself. If you haven't already, click on this link below. It's going to be $379 on this link till September the 1st. As soon as you pay, we're going to add you to the WhatsApp group and give you access to content, and we're going to start that process. So get it done, ASAP Rocky. We'll see you in the next stream. It's been a pleasure. Take care. Arriba.
Da, 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 da.